ladies and gentlemen. Dr. Stanley Maposa here. We continue with our leadership lessons today. I really appreciate your coming through and liking the page. You're coming through and commenting. You're coming through and subscribing, as well as liking the page and pressing the notification button that will enable you to see when you are online at every other time. Thank you so much. I would like to be discussing with you a subject that I'm going to entitle as How Do I Lead Up? How do I lead upwards? And in these leadership sessions, we're talking about how we build leaders and how we build also problem solvers. I was recently asked a question by one of my former colleagues that I worked with some time ago. And the question was, how do I lead up? How do I lead up? Like many of us, she had a boss that needed her leadership. She had a boss above her who needed the leadership from someone who was reporting to her. So that's the leading up aspect. Although this may seem to be a contradiction for many at first, it is actually one of a very, very common situation that always happens. Remember that leadership is not actually about your title. It is also not about your leader or your boss's title. And it is not about your relative position in the organizational organogram or chart. But leadership is really about solving problems and changing the order of things for the better. And is defined neither by title nor position. Let's go back to the question that this colleague of mine asked me, how do I lead up? And this question then reminded me of a situation that I happened to be in myself in my career, where I had just started to achieve the lowest rank of middle management, and I was responsible for community-based teams that worked specifically with children. After I had arrived in that particular role, there was an announcement from our international office that we were changing the way in which we are reporting from a manual reporting system where people are filling in forms and writing names and all that, and going around, collecting this information from children that were part of our program, to a computer-based database system. So that was the change that was happening and was announced. And therefore, my boss, who had also become a regional manager at that time, and a member of the senior leadership team, and was extremely busy for the entire organization rather than the program, asked me to say, can you be able to lead upwards? Can you be able to help me with this particular project? Can you be able to make this thing happen? Because that was the position that he had been working towards for a long time, and he really didn't want to take chances. He wanted to make sure that this project was going to succeed, because he was now part of the big club, the E Club, and he was spending a lot of time in the headquarters with the superiors. So I knew a lot about development workers who were based at the community level, because that's what I had been working on and working with them in terms of the manual system. And I also knew the requirements of the new database more than the boss did, because definitely I was closer to the ground than himself, and therefore I had an opportunity to lead up. I had an opportunity to lead the process from down upwards, and therefore he trusted me with that and said, can you please do that? So the first thing that I did in answer to how do I lead up, the first thing that I did to my boss was to talk to him about the risk of losing our staff. There was a staff traction risk, a risk of losing our good staff in the communities who had heart for children, who had experience for children, who had love for children. But some of them were old, some of them were illiterate, some of them were unable to use the computer-based system. They were so used to the status quo, they were so used to writing down information on paper, and we had a risk of losing them. And if we lost them at that point in time, would have lost a lot of institutional memories, would have lost a lot of information, knowledge, experience, and connection with children. And therefore, we were not going to risk doing that. So what then we did do was to take time to develop them to an expected level within the short time that was given. In other words, a big and major crash course in computer literacy, in computer applications, in database, information, data gathering, data capturing, and all those processes very, very quickly. And in the process also, translate the manual into local language, because some of them, as I indicated, were illiterate, and therefore there was a need to ensure that these manuals are user-friendly. So within a short space of time, I was supposed to have made sure that the manual is translated into 11 languages. Because this project was in South Africa with 11 languages across the country, Afrikaans, from Afrikaans right up to Zulu, from A to Z. And then be able to quickly train these staff members so that within the short space of time, at least they have some basic knowledge and understanding of computers and how to, after collecting the information, be able to capture it within the system, clean the data, and ensure that we have the information in time. So I explained also to my manager how intense this process would be. Because when I talk about it like this, someone would say, no, it's a simple process, but it was going to be an intense process. Intense in the sense that it was time intensive, time consuming, funding was needed to be able to maybe get in some cases translators, service providers who are going to do the training and all these employees in a course of some sort that would really deliver on the issues that I've raised here. And that really needed quite a lot of intense planning, intense budgeting, intense motivation, and ensure that the resources are available that would make this thing go forward. So I painted a picture of the resources also that would be needed in terms of human resources, financial resources, time resources, and how difficult they would be to commandeer them. So I took a step back and considered the problem from different angles. What are the different angles that this problem has of changing from a manual-based system to a computer-based system? And that's how I started to lead up and be able to ensure that I run with the project as if I'm running it on behalf of the leader of the organization that had stepped up to another role. What did the boss need? The boss just needed to win in his new job. And one of the deliverables was that he should win on that international command of changing from manual to computer-based system. So he just wanted that. He did not need a long, grinding, risk proposition with no clear strategy of success. So he wanted something that would say, I am going to deliver, and this is how I'm going to deliver. So in order to engage him, we have to find some common ground on where we are, what is the current state, and then the shared vision of where we're going, which is the future state.
Yes, so I'm saying we looked at the current.
So how do you lead up?
So how do you
Let's
lead
go
up?
back to my question so that I'm able to answer you
that I'm
properly.
able to answer
You
properly.
look at the
You
current
look at the
state
current
of the
state
problem,
of
of the
the problem,
organization, of the situation, of the crisis
of the crisis
where you have been asked to
where you
lead
have
up.
been asked to lead
And
up.
then you start
And then
to
you
develop a
start to
shared
develop
vision
a shared vision
to the place where you
to
want to
the
go,
place
which
where
is
you want
called
to
the
go, which
future
is called the
state.
future
So a
state.
roadmap
So a
between
roadmap
the
between
current
the
state
current
and the
state
future
and the
state
future
is very, very
state
critical.
is
And
very,
that
very critical. And
takes
that
into
takes
consideration
into
the kind of resources
consideration the
that you'll
kind of
need, the
resources that
time
you'll
that you'll
need,
need
the
to do
time that
that,
you'll need to do
the
that,
personnel that you'll
the
need to do
personnel
that,
that
the
you'll need to do
budget that
that,
you'll
the
need to do
budget
that.
that you'll need
And
to
those
do
are the
that.
things, as
And those
I
are
was
the things, as
explaining, that I
was
really
explaining, that I really
worked through
worked
with
through
my supervisor,
with my
and
supervisor,
in the process
and
leading.
in the process leading.
That
That
it is me that
it
knows
is
and
me that
understands
knows and understands
this process and these people
this
that we are
process
dealing
and
with.
these
And
people
then
that
we
we
had
are
to
dealing with.
build a
And then we had
program
to
together
build a program together
on how we are
on
going to
how
go
we are going to go
from where we were
from
to
where
where we
we were
needed to
to
be.
where we needed to be.
We could agree,
We could
both of us,
agree,
that
both of
losing
us, that
all the
losing
current staff
all the current staff
would be a big failure for
would
the
be a big
organization
failure
and
for the
both of us.
organization and
So
both of us.
none of us
So
was
none of
interested
us was interested
in losing the staff
in
because they
losing
didn't
the
know
staff because they
computers.
didn't know computers.
They were illiterate, some of
They
them,
were
some of them
illiterate,
were
some of
old.
them, some
So
of them were old.
losing them was going to be
Losing
very,
them
very
was going to
risky
be
for
very,
both
very risky
us,
for both us,
myself and my supervisor,
myself
or my
and my
boss,
supervisor,
so
or
to
my
speak,
boss,
as
so
well
to
as the
speak,
organization
as
in
well as the
general. So
organization in general.
we
So
agreed that
we
our
agreed
organization
that our
was not a
organization
profit
was
making,
not a profit making,
to justify the kind
to
of
justify
resources
the
that
kind
we
of resources
needed,
that
or
we
that the
needed,
new
or
system
that
needed.
the new system
And
needed.
therefore,
And
the
therefore,
only
the
future
only
state
future
worth striking
state
for
worth striking for
was involving building new
involving
capacities, so
new
that the staff will be able
capacities,
to
so that the staff will be able
position
to position
more competently
more
with other
competently
programs.
with
And
other programs.
a
And
huge
a
negotiation
huge
also was done with
negotiation
the
also was
international
done with
office.
the international
Say, look, here
office.
we are a small
Say, look, here we
program,
are a small
and
program,
therefore would need
and therefore
this
would
extra
need
amount
this
of money,
extra amount of money,
some of which is already
some of
within
which
our
is already
programs,
within
and we
our
can
programs, and we
just,
can just
motivate to readjust,
motivate to
change the goals and
readjust,
the plans
change the
to bring
goals
the
and the
money
plans to
into
bring
the
the
current
money into the
project that we are
current
dealing with.
project that we are dealing
But some
with.
of it would
But some
then
of it would then
be
be
funded from the international
funded
office to
from
be
the
able to
international office to be able
fund
to
the
fund
system that was
the
required
system that was
to do
required.
that. The only future state worth striking for involved building the new capacities of the staff, as I've already said, and also position both myself, my boss, and the organizations competitively over the other programs that we are already running. We did not just need to save our current intervention, we needed to win the trust of the donors through innovation, and then leverage the innovation throughout the whole organization. To cut the long story short, that project succeeded. It's very, very, very successful. And as I speak right now, it's still currently running, because there was somebody who was able to lead up, was able to say, I am going to take charge and lead my leader and lead my boss, as an expert in the field that I was in. So what I'm trying to say is, some of you may not be the top leaders, may not be the founders, the CEOs, the executive directors, whatever, the president, the top guys in the organization. But wherever you are, you can lead up. You can lead the organization from where you are. I believe in the Bible, Joseph led up. He was below Pharaoh, but he gave Pharaoh a plan. And he led Pharaoh to say, Pharaoh, look here, in the 7 years of plenty, we are going to be putting aside all the food, the surplus food that we are not using. We're not going to be wasting. We're going to be, saving and storing the food, because the next 5 years will be very difficult. So we can't Pharaoh say, be business as usual.
be
So
business as
in
usual.
these 7 years of
in these
plenty,
7 years of plenty,
we must make sure that they
we
provide
must make
for
sure
us
that
for
they
now,
provide for us for
but
now,
they also provide
but
us
they
for
also
the future.
provide us for
So
the
they are not
future.
just
So they are not just
the 7 days of
the
plenty
7 days
for
of
7 years of for plenty
7 years
of plenty for
plenty
now,
of plenty
but
for
they are
now,
also of the future,
but they are also of the
and
future.
therefore the
Therefore,
future
the future
rests on the current.
rests
The
on
future
the
rests
current.
on what
The
we
future
do
rests
now.
on what we do now.
Yes, I would like
Yes,
to bring to a
I would like
close
to
right
bring
now
to a
to
close
say,
right now to say,
as I've indicated, that we
as I've
needed to
indicated
win
that we needed
our
to
donors'
win our
trust and
donors'
the innovation
trust
that we
and the
brought for the
innovation
entire
that we brought for
organization.
the entire organization.
This was a very
This was
ambitious
a very ambitious
project, but it was
project,
possible.
but
It was worth the
possible. It
organization's
was worth the
investment in time
organization's investment in
as well as
time,
resources. And
as
my
well as
boss
resources.
was
And my boss
happy,
was
and he
happy.
became a hero.
And he became a
And we
hero.
both made a
And we
change.
both made a change.
He was a hero,
He
and
was
I
a
also
hero,
got
and I
promoted.
also got
So how
promoted.
do you lead up?
So how do you
Stop
lead up?
thinking about
Stop
your boss's
thinking about
title.
your boss's title.
Consider him or her a
Consider him
colleague
or
with
her a
pressure
colleague with
and
pressure
conflict
and
that needs
that needs
you as well.
you as well.
Apply all the lessons of
Apply all the
leadership you have
lessons of
learned
leadership
in the
you have
same
learned
way
in the
with
same
your
way
boss as you
with your
would
boss as
in
you
any
would
situation with
any
anyone
situation
else.
with anyone else.
This is not being
This is
respectful,
not being
disrespectful.
disrespectful.
It's not being disrespectful
It's not being
to lead up,
disrespectful to
but
lead
it
up,
is part
but
of
it is
problem
part
solving.
of
As I
problem
indicated,
solving.
wherever
As I
you are
indicated,
located,
wherever you are located,
you are essential
you
in that
are
organization,
essential
in that church,
organization,
and
in
you
that
can
church,
lead
and you can
upwards.
lead
May God
upwards.
bless you. I would
May
like
God
to
bless you. I
close
would
it here
like
for
to
now
close it here
and
for now.
ask you
And
to
ask you to like,
subscribe, comment,
comment,
press the notification
press the
button,
notification
and join
button,
us each
and
time.
join us each time when we bring these leadership lessons with Dr. Stan.